Welcome to Dungeon Master, the special treasure chest edition, where we have come through a dungeon, around a tight corner, through an airwalk, over the catacombs, and out the dusky hall of skulls, and you will see this treasure chest await you in Valhalla, like surroundings which are much muddled by the fact that you're in a dungeon. That dungeon master has a treasure chest, but needs the gold key to operate it. Means he's got to search which CD is on, and that way he will find out with his CD collection that came flying out of this, which we call Pandora's Box, or a normal treasure chest on Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. It's kind of like that, but this is Dungeon Master. Not to be confused with Amsterdam's Dungeon Master, because that Dungeon Master is a different master than my Dungeon Master is. And this is my treasure. Now, to find that key, we must see what CD is on now, and I'm not sure what my stereo is even saying about it. That this CD I collected long ago, and it has words on it that I can't really spell, but it means that something could start that's my fault, but it wouldn't be because I didn't say to do it. And that it could be Quiet Riot is quiet riot. Don't you think? And anyways, that there's a riot song all over it means that we're drooling in blood and we love riot CDs. But that can't be the key, because that's not what we're listening to right now. But I thought of something. This album isn't even supposed to be seen on film. This could get me destroyed for showing this. I can't believe you're not stopping the footage right now and just seeing this. Actually, it's a Pleasant CD, and they're all lopping good copies in Britain. But that there's more than just being the soundtrack of a film. It's not the CD we're looking for. But I figured something out. That's in the player, but I'm deducing, you see, by which CD it isn't. Then I'll figure out which one it is. Because there's 5 missing in this trailer, and there's plenty of to go. Look at this one. This one's a doozy. I heard those guys spell TOE to spell the words threshold of evil. I hear they're so rich that they make other rich rock bands come to their show and pay more money just for back row seats. I heard they're so rich that they bankrupted Denver just to throw a party show in their yard, and I was even there so I can prove it. And Out of Time sounds about like where I'm at. What is this, Dungeon Master 18? And I can't catch a break. Every time I look at the CD that it's not, I think, am I forgetting one that it could have been? We're going a bit fast, but I must describe this one. It's a terrible book. It runs in 10 parts. It's so awesome that it becomes less terrible than actually the final draft, as I remember it from years ago, is complete. But complete doesn't mean necessarily not confusing. The well-drafted confusion is always preferable, although stream of conscious confusion is all throughout. That there are critics listed in abundance and crazy critical guides is not of the fact that it's a critical reader. This is the one we're gonna have to stop and dungeon about at. So if we dungeon Gershwin, what does it sound like? Can we take it to the machine? Can we play it? And then we'll know what CD we have. We must go to the machine. Dungeon Master, tell us the riddle. Tell us how to open this. And it looks like we've got packages of Dungeon Master hidden CDs. Well, whatever that is to lead you to believe. But now all we have to do to see what CD this is pop the case and we'll see right away. Oh, that was the Invisibles' first record? Well, why did it stop? Just so I could see that? What if I forget when putting it in? But I already knew it was the Invisibles. I'm just stoned and had a memory lapse. That's all. But we need to see if this other musical number works. And I'm not just talking about a bard's quest afterwards, or where we go to belong, or what you're doing in your sister's yard, or could you get off that? Yeah, well, I would look in here and I would see this thing going. And if we keep glowing, we're going to try and see if Gershwin's allowed, if this copy's allowed. And of course, everything on Dungeon Master is pretty much used with permission. And this is public domain, so we do have that running for us. But that it won't ruin the soundtrack at all while I finish going through my CDs is important. Sorry for the interruption. I really liked The Invisibles. Don't know why I shut it off other than to remember what the name of the album was and make a little joke like that was a reason to go through my CDs, which just going through my CDs is bad enough. But this album's really pretty good. It's not my best album, but there's other albums that didn't come out in the retail format of these. And this being the first album in a retail format is already impressive compared to a streaming media which takes just as much time and content as one of these retail costs. That it has a better cover and a better case is one of the reasons we buy the CDs, and that the sound quality is better because of the enhanced CD is only because it's packaged inside in a bundle that's really beautiful, and it was a Shed Studios release. And may Shed Studios find its glory in the heart of men. And may Shed Studios rise to be the ones to find Jake Wilkinson's unicycle and never bring it back. And may there be one more shot to the wind for all the loot and hoards that I could throw their way, as if I had any, but if I did and they could loot and hold it, I'd just throw it in their plunder and walk away and say, great job, men. You hung your teeth low for me, and all I want to do is continue on with Dungeon Master, but hail be to Shed Studios, the ones behind the Rock Band originally. It's a long file to put the streamers in capital, but it wouldn't have happened without happy accidents. And I always brag about the Bard and his Rock Band and how the Bard's never been credited, but how the Bard started singing for Dungeon Master, and that there was a streamer that had the Bard from initial Bard footage isn't enough to mellow. This is one of my best CDs, and it's not mine, it's a friend of mine from Los Angeles. And we can listen to some of this. Let's listen to this. We can take this over to the machine and listen to what he has to say. And it's Matthew Nelson is his name, and it's his band, Forward. And I've seen these guys together, and Gershwin was just good, but not even bombastic. It was wild and twisted and groovy and completely vivacious. I don't know why I keep changing the CD. It's like, can't we play it out for once? So we might play it out for once, or we might get distracted and have a CD party and go to Dungeon Master mode. Now that the stereo can take anything but low CDs is not why we're not on the radio. That we have somewhat usage rights to this doesn't mean we wouldn't give all the loot and pillage to all the bands we knew if we had any. Forevermore in your company. This is a really old CD friend of mine. He's making music that we've heard before, maybe even in Dungeon Master. This is interesting. I remember hearing this music in some kind of an episode, and we weren't talking about this blue CD in that. It was a different show. It wasn't anything I've seen, but that it exists is almost scaring me to the point of going into a Hillary Weeks discussion. If it's every step Hillary Weeks, does that mean there's a girl named Hillary Weeks? And do I even know if this is mine? Nope, this is the Enchantress's CD. The Enchantress has some feminine music, which we dial feminine through the feminist movement, which we all avow to and bow our heads and close our eyes to the womanly god nature of man, and how this will all pan out for their race has been so veneered in tragedy that we just must prevail and give birth to the Mother Queen. And here is Bye Bye Birdie on cassette tape that may be worth having, but we probably couldn't dial in the music from that box, which does play cassettes. But that would be a frenetic disaster, and I'd drop the camera. Dungeon Master's having too much fun going through his old CD case. Well, this just might take some time, so strap in. Invisibles again. Farewell to Innocent. I remember now. That was in Dead Baby the movie. That was the theme to my banned film, and what a banned film to bring up, because every time I bring it up I have to apologize. In greed, insatiable greed must have overcome my eyes, because I made it such a non-money maker that it became a cult fantastic. Has only been heard by severe friends that I've met along the road that said the movie has damaged them in some way by them thinking it's funny. They feel guilty, which was the point of the film, and that only worked in Clockwork Orange. But anyways, you've got to not see the movie but hear the score. And if I could show you, for instance, that there is a tape deck on this CD platform that is much superior in sound, and now that we have forward playing, we have forward motion playing now with Matt Nelson, while we describe to you this song that goes down in infamy for being one of Invisible's best songs by Troy Perez and Josh Roberts. And yet, it's in a movie they both approve of, maybe haven't seen or ever will, but that it's legendary in and of itself without the movie is just as good. But it kind of thrills me to think that I used it on a movie like that, because I wish it was on one of my movies that was better produced. But not to say that it was produced bad on purpose, which it was. All right, let's get away from that. We're too close to that machine, and it's like reverberating. I don't know what it's doing. It's casting an aura on me. I must go through the CDs. I must play it. I must play this. I have no choice. I'm robbed of all memory. I must sit and concentrate on this. I'm putting it away temporarily because I'm stunned by the musical odyssey in front of me. It's like grabbing me hold and tearing me apart. To decipher all of the code in the human soul. So the dwarf speaks again to the crowd and says, I have found thine ring on Enchanted Hill. Dungeon Master loves to play his CD time together. He gets together with his stereo and hangs out and talks to it. He talks to it as though he's making a recording for future Dungeon Masters. And the Hitchhiker's Guide of Dungeon Master isn't enough. We must fly to another dimension as soon as we get instigated by the royalty of the mongooses. I don't think it's very funny to talk about animals, because it's like you're trying to get a joke out of an animal like an animal's a joke. No, animals are cute and funny though, so I guess in that way it's okay. But you can't just laugh at an animal for something that they didn't mean to do, and you think that's funny. Everybody knows there's a pet owner not to always laugh at their pet, not because they're doing something wrong, but they might take it as, are you laughing at me? Should never act that way in front of a pet. Just a warning from the Humane Society in case they come to checking out one of my films. Yeah, we jackassed it, man. Just like Jackass Dungeon Master. The second time around, and the time. I think the bandit will stand still. I think the bandit will stand still and move to the right. That he picks up a rock and thuds it at Igor's chest is amazing. But I can't speechlessly say what I'm trying to say is making a mockery of my time distance, for I have let so much time elapse from the hypnosis of this subliminal bliss that's coming from these wavy, gravy tunes, and all because I did what Schopenhauer said to do and drank the aura of seals in the potion elixir of Phoenix Downs. And I came back on a chocobo and raised my head to Pokemon and wondered who had upgraded my phone, but that it had been taking better pictures does not capture the grandiosity of this machine and how it makes such a beautiful rhythm. But I was too entranced in that song to let it finish, although you all wanted it to. But Dungeon Master is coming upon a dead end, and this looks like a no level up level, even if we listen to what's next, which should be permission used. And that we using permission used, it could be Breaking Dawn. I think we can get into that mode and narrate the rest of what happens to Treasure Chest. But we've got to get the Treasure Chest music box here, which we found in a treasure chest, not unlike this small one, which warps to size and holds all my CDs in it. I can't demonstrate later because we never found the gold key, and we forgot to check the Invisibles case, and it looks like the lyrics. Pardon me, Harry Potter, but I've got to turn you down. If you look at these engravings, it says the Invisibles' farewell to innocence. But if that's on this CD, then that means we made a crime and skipped a song that would have been in this movie and been a better one. That we cannot designate. What we did with the Invisible CD, except left it on the stereo, is fringing against the fact that I'm not changing it from Breaking Dawn. We're about to enter a whole new realm of Chesty, the Treasure Chest tribute. And that while there's something in there that I can't get out, I'm sure it's in there and someone can get it out and keep it if they could, but I would rather have it. And if I would rather have it, then I'll trade it with you immediately for weed, because weed is what I need, according to the band I was in, the Dead Telluritis, who do again cloth shroven garments upon my music friends of all good levels, of all thine lost footage and all thine found, and every majestic destiny that takes place on the glory of Mother Earth, have praise, so the kingdom of man is near, and will come upon thee in great fury and shadowy principles of nature that will contort you into dimensions unknown from the stream of mind's destiny into the ark of eternal covenants that is in the Holy of Holies. I wish I had a key to this treasure chest. Now, I'm thinking for a farewell tune because we're not getting very far, but this is beautiful music and I really shouldn't change it. But I was thinking, what if we did try to put that song in a good movie? What if we just found what we were almost too lazy to look for, and that would be the Invisible song to tear it out to the end? Now, if it's not on here, we'll just trap to the end because it may not be on here, and that's why it's on cassette. But that the words don't speak against going jarringly from music to music, as some CD changes never will, and all will let you hear out a sample. That was so cruel to bury Breaking Dawn before you and cut it short of its enormous amount of help that it did for this film is sad. But we must move on to one last question. Do we have anything?
What could I say?
We heard
we
this.
weren't much more than a couple
Where
of
was Dungeon Master when he went to the end and discovered, if it wasn't the song, that it would be good either way? And that we go to track 17. We must listen, for this is the bonus track on the Invisibles' first album. This is not Farewell to Innocence, but we're about to get blasted off our asses. Let's get blasted to the machine. All hail the machine. The machine passeth, cometh of us all. The machine is fun. The machine is simplicity.
fantastic. It has a clock, it has a banter, it has a wheel, it has a ranter, it has a dial, it has a turn, it has record symbols to record tapes, it has CD brothers quality, it's Bluetooth, and it plays records. And I would show you my record collection is precisely what I intend to do for the moment, because Dungeon Master just wants to get one thing straight, that I'm not going to show you every record I own, because we have to go to a different Dungeon Master to look for the treasure chest key buried on one of these albums. That this album looks like a cartoon when moved back and forth is almost knocking me over. It's moving so fast. It's like a film going by. And that's because it's all simultaneous shots, just barely after each other. Sorry, not simultaneous, but repeated shots barely moved forward from the frame. That it made a different cartoon is severely strange. That every time I look at this, it creates a different wheel of pictures. It's totally preposterous, especially in those eyes of his. That Dungeon Master has never shown anyone this is a valuable record from the Enchantress, and it's Led Zeppelin 3. And the Dungeon Master reveres Led Zeppelin as a great band. It's one of those things that I have to admit, they're pure satanic. And in satanic, I mean they worship the devil. And I mean by worshiping the devil, that's how they play rock and roll music. It does work that way. You can worship the devil to play rock music. The bard only worshipped him for a quadrant of his wizard training and then went back to cleric in the Christian order of Dungeon Master. But the Dungeon Master has arranged some of the dungeons for Led Zeppelin renew bands that play in their step is not quite true, but that a renew band of Led Zeppelin would pick me up is higher than my tax bracket, or I would show you all my Led Zeppelin albums, but I keep the rest hidden in the whale of a belly of a fish somewhere that no one needs to know. Because we had Matt Nelson in the Eggshed Studios. We got some Bill Miller we didn't play, but that'd be cool anyway if we did, but we're probably not going to. And then all that change, knowing that you'll be here. And all that change, knowing that you'll be here. And all that's change, knowing that you'll be here. The bard likes this one. That was a good song. I was propelled to launch toward the speaker. Well, we finally got a good movie for the Invisibles again. Not that the other ones we did with them were bad, because they've been in 8 or 9 of my movies, and 7 of them were repeat offenders for having 2 Invisible songs or whatever else that was released by the Yes We Cans, who were once a band in Colorado Spring by Trudge Rose, and Loaded 45 with Josh Roberts. And that all that's changed, knowing that you'll be here, is a proud sponsor of why Dungeon Master will sign off in perhaps either a bardic memory, or a daisy chain Lulu grid, or a repeat succular turbancy, or a dissipating biodrome missile crate, or an independent Wookiee philharmometer compass. One of those things will find a way to the key, and we might have to examine more records, but play them. The sound would be too great and melt our ears, and we would bleed from our skulls, and our eyes would pop out. The music would overwhelm us, and if we're stoned, it's twice as bad. So remember, if we do play a record, we'll get thrown off the show so fast for even revealing what the sound is of a record, because it will be so distortedly perfect that nothing will get in its way from shredding you from head to toe. And that's what just happened to me. I had to drop out early because I'm beat as Dungeon Master, dude.